Or, how's everybody doing? I know it looks kind of foggy in here. Hold on. It always does this when I start the camera. Let's see if we can make it look a little bit better. Well, it's just kind of sunny coming in through dirty windows, so we'll have to deal with it for a minute while the sun sets. But how is everybody doing? It's good to see folks streaming on in. And today, I wanted to cover a couple topics. I guess the main one is really that I wanted to talk about um, three spots in particular: the Central African Republic, the situation going on in Myanmar, and then also the situation going on in the Amazon down on the Zengu River, and what's happening there and how it's threatening fish. Kind of the updates on why we might not be getting some of the fish we're used to getting, and maybe which fish you guys should start breeding if you're interested in that. If you go back and look at my old posts around February, I suppose, of 2020, before the proverbial blank hit the fan, you'll find that I had some suggestions of what you guys should be breeding if you want to make more money, and what your local fish stores won't be able to get a hold of. And I did those things and ended up making more money than I've made in any year past, by just breeding, bread and butter tetras and just common fish that nothing was coming in for a while there, last March, May and June. And even now, still, we're having a hard time sourcing things like pea puffers and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, not to toot my own horn, but I was right. So I think I have a pretty good pulse on that, and we'll go over some of that if you guys are hoping to make a good decision there, plus help the species out that are from those places. Um, what else is new? Just figure I'll say hello to a couple people until we get everyone streaming in here. But Herp Diversity, what's going on? Third Coast Aquatics, Dirty Old Farmhand, hello Spirulina. Your average fish keeper. Let's see here. Muppet, Greg the Guppy Guy, what's going on? Bud Aquatics, Geek Boy, Kevin Leong, Ginger Graves, hello, my dear. Scott, Brenda, Chubbs, what's going on, John? How's it going, brother? So, if you guys have any, and Demand, welcome. If you guys have any questions, of course, it's a live stream. Feel free to ask them. Von Lurker, hello, welcome, lurk on. Uh, oh, we got some binary comments. No idea what that means. I'm gonna assume it means hello, but it's probably like one letter with 8 million digits. But I want to show you a little video first. You guys probably have seen this, but it's so surreal and it's so, I don't know. I'll probably get a strike for it or whatever. But I don't know. It's so bizarre that I have to show it to you. Oh, when is the big move? Joe is asking. So I move exactly a week from today, actually. So, well, we'll get into it too. But basically, right now, I'm trying to figure out. I've got an 11-foot wall, and I've got three, well, no, two 40-gallon breeders. We've got a 55 long, and which is like 4 feet long and it's pretty narrow. It's like 13. Oh, by the way, burnt the crud out of my thumb on while I was working on something the other day. But yeah, so I kind of been playing with how I'm going to be able to do all that. We'll see. So yeah, might need you guys' help, your input, your output, your group sourcing. The other thing, hey Peplin, the other thing I wanted to ask, if anybody knows of specifically an African American figure in the hobby, in the fish world, And I know we've got people in the hobby like Big Hank Tanks and you know, I'm trying to think who else would probably fall under that. I mean, we've got Derek, Dead Fred, as well as you know a handful of others. But because of the month that it is, I thought it would be cool to maybe feature some African American parts of the story. And the story so far is ending up being that I can't find any until the last 20 or 30 years, which is really interesting because then the story becomes what an elitist hobby we've had in until the 1970s or so. And now it's becoming more democratized with the internet, and you can learn how to do these things a little easier. But before that, really, you could keep some native fish or a pond if you had land. But if you have an apartment in the city, um, other than a goldfish or something, you really weren't going to get into having a fish room. And so I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm just missing someone. So if you know of somebody in the hobby's history that was an explorer who, you know, named and discovered new species, or who bred for a really long time that was African American, and, you know, there's information about them out there, or I could get into contact with them, I would love that. You know, I've featured women in the hobby because a lot of times people say, "Oh, this is a boys' club," you know, because most of the fish channels average about 90% male viewers. We're at 75% male viewers supposedly. Live streams being 50-50, and that's what I would love to keep it at. You know, I think everybody should be able to get at it. So I don't know. That's all just a side tangent. If you happen to know of a story of an African American, now there's not to say that there aren't black folks that have made large contributions. There's a British, uh, African, Britain. What would you call it? British African Britarians, and there are French and people from Nairobi and things like that in Kenya and South Africa. But there just aren't. Yeah, YouTube does skew towards males in general. But yeah, so I wanted to find a story, though, perhaps of somebody, you know, at a time in the 30s or something. Maybe there's some interesting story of someone who was, you know, breeding down in Louisiana or something. There has to be. So, just like to chronicle those stories. There's kind of the same people always get the credit. You know, you've got Axelrod and Agassiz and you know, just the same people time and time again. Ian Fuller with the Corridoras, and Gary Lang or Heiko Blair, or, you know, like, which is fine. I mean, they're all very talented people who influence the hobby. But I'd love to make some, you know, 10-minute episodes just on other stories of other folks that came in and invented a pump or discovered a fish or went on an expedition or whatever. So if you know something like that involving an African American, specifically an American, is the, you know, because of the month, would be the biggest interest to me. But it seems odd that I can't find anybody really, other than right now current ichthyologist professors and things like that. In any case, so let's flip this around again. I was planning out yet again on the 11-foot wall. Stop that. I don't know why my device is saying rotate, rotate. But I was planning out doing 40, 40. This is a 40 bow front, and then a 20 long, 20 long, 20 long, 10, 10, 10 on end, and then 5 fives, and then I could do a total of 14 if I wanted, of the 2.5s for like killifish bettas, things like that, small hatchery tanks. So that's one idea, and I would have gladiator shelving here, a 4-foot or a 3-foot unit here, I guess. Wait, is that what that? No, 4-foot unit here, and a 4-foot unit here. The problem is that the arm struts actually get in the way with the 40-gallon or any tank. If the tank's 36 inches, the shelf says 36 inches, it ends up being cut off by part of the shelf by just slightly. So that's just something that I'm kind of playing about. There was a Alishon says there was a well-known African American woman fish in breeding innovator. I will have to check out the Aquarium Hobby Historical Society. That would be awesome, Alishon. If you can find the name, I'll do the rest. That would be great, though. Thank you. Um, Thank you, mods, also, by the way, and I hope everybody is staying warm. I know it is colder than, well, not hell, but cold. It's cold. Let's just say it's cold. Um, and then this was another idea of an 8-foot bay on the other wall because the door opens. So I've got the 11 and the 8. But on the 8-foot bay, I mean, without even talking about the very top, I could easily, on an 8-footer, fit 40-40, my 20 tall, which is actually a little taller than this, and I didn't realize it. And then there are 320 longs would fit in there, and then 310s, 2 5s turned lengthwise. So I don't know. I feel so like torn right now. I mean, the whole house, it's pretty small. The whole house, this is the layout as I've shown you guys in the past. But yeah, it's a week from moving. I need to buy things that you kind of forget about, but like a mat. I need to get waterproof mats, drip mats for here. This is the room that I'll have here, the 11 by 10. And then we have a whole yard that's like half the size of a football field, which is going to be awesome. And a shed, and hopefully either we'll build an outdoor fish room that's literally a dedicated, 20 foot by, I don't know, 10-foot fish room or something like that. That's an art studio and fish room put together. Would be really great, but we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Jerry, how's it going, my friend? But yeah, we move in, so we're literally, I mean, the house is kind of demolished. There's boxes everywhere. Then my dad and a neighbor friend are gonna help me move that tank there and the other heavier ones like that one and the 40 breeders, and then I should be able to get the other ones on my own. But that's kind of what's going on right now. Let's get the glare off of everything. There's still, how's there glare? Also, Alex, how cold is it right now? Right now it's not that cold. It's like 40 degrees today. We did get over a foot of snow at my house though. Oh, and you know what? I see a super chat that I almost missed. Misfits, Reptiles, and Aquatics. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That'll come in handy for the move. I need to buy some, I need to set up also the plumbing, and I will make videos on all of that when I end up getting that finished. I probably will start by just transferring over the majority of what I have now, including the pumps that run about 8 different things, 8 different outlets at a time, or outputs at a time. And then I'll probably from there replace it with like a Gemco linear piston and wire it all up. But I think I can get away with not having to buy all that in such a hurry, like so that I can figure out a nice spot for it and build a shelf and all that kind of stuff. Well, let's get back to the topic at hand and where I got the thumbnail. I don't know. I might get a strike for this one, but I just have to show you this. So Myanmar had been under military dictatorship rule for 50 years off and on since their. I'm moving to Shoreline from Seattle, so it's maybe I don't know, a 4-mile drive, but about 20 minutes time with the lights and just the way you have to kind of cross town. It takes a while, but there's that. So, but yeah, Galaxy Rasboras, CPDs, those are the same fish, definitely. Celestial Pearl Danios. And then there's Emerald Rasboras or dwarf emerald dwarf rasboras, sometimes they're called, which are erythromicrons, which actually can breed and cross with celestial pearl danios. But all the fish in Lake Inle are going to be potential issues because most of them are not bred in mass yet. It surprises the heck out of me that CPDs are not being bred in Indonesia like as their primary source. Most CPDs are still being wild caught, which is just bizarre to me. It's starting to change, but as of now, it just must be cheaper than feeding them and growing them out. They can take a while to grow out with being such a small fish. But so Myanmar, also known as Burma formerly, and the Burma, the Burman are the 80% majority ethnic group in the country, and then there's about 150 other really small tribe and ethnic groups. But there's this main area in the capital of the country, and this gal, since the lockdown started for the disease, she had been doing these exercise videos in the center square of the capital there in Myanmar. Well, the other day there was a military coup, and literally, as she's just kind of ignoring the traffic, there's these armored vehicles and there's cars going by her, and she's live streaming her morning workout to people, and it happens to be a song that makes fun of the people a little bit. Anyone know where I can get any L134 leopard frogs? Yeah, Aquatic Arts has them. But in any case, I just thought this was kind of a funny thing to not get hit with to not get banned. Basically, I was just gonna put my hand in the way for a sec. I don't know if any more come by, but yeah, they go and literally they take over this checkpoint to the capital, blow through it with all these soldiers, and she's just like continuing on her merry way with her like fitness routine. So that's been kind of going around the internet, and I thought that was a little bit funny. But not so funny. We've got this going on, and this was the scene last night. Oops. Of course I messed it up. Those are live rounds being used. At the time, they didn't know, but this morning and last night, people showed up in the ER. And the thing that's pretty incredible about this is these people have been held back for years and years. In the last 10 years, they've had kind of the country basically had a deal with this group of activists, and you may have heard of her, Aung San Suu. Man, I never say her name right. Hold on, Aung San Suu. Let me just pull up her name. I'll just show you guys, because I am terrible at saying her name for some reason. Aung San Suu Kyi is how you say it. I guess in their language. Burmese has the coolest alphabet. It looks like the craziest writing. They're like these weird little bubble letters and squiggles. Very interesting language that's maybe related to Tibetan language, but we don't know. But in any case, this gal has been a freedom, a pro-democracy fighter for at least 20 or 30 years. She won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she was kind of in charge of running the country the last 10 years. and then some. And it was not until the year 2006 that we even discovered celestial pearl danios. That we even discovered Sabwa splendens rasboras. That's the rummy nose rasbora rather than the rummy nose tetra, and other things like pandagaras and rufagaras. Well, we rufagaras are also in Thailand too, but a lot of these creatures are found in Myanmar, and Myanmar is in an incredible location in between India and China and all these other spots. But the bottom line is that we will not be getting imports from them probably while this is going on, while they're shooting their own people and locking them up. However, people have definitely been, you know, it's a situation that's very tense. Up here, there's a group called the Rohingya that live that are Islamic, and they have moved back and forth between this whole area for like 600 years. They've moved between India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Well, she, as the majority leader, has totally turned a blind eye slash even encouraged the basically putting these people into refugee camps. So there's kind of this mixed feeling about her in the country. But I mean, Myanmar is this incredible country. If you go there, there are incredible Buddhist temples and just sights to see all over. The place is like the country that time forgot, and people are using. I mean, they're starting to bring in industrial tractors and to be able to dredge irrigation ditches and plow for farming and things like that. But still, the vast majority of the country just uses their hands or tools like you would have in medieval times almost, which has left this region up here. This state here is called Shan State, and it is phenomenally diverse with it being mountains and a river valley, and then other valleys here, and then it kind of being where east meets west as far as Asia goes. There's the Indian subcontinent, and it's kind of the animal diversity goes into there. And then from here, you've got all the Vietnamese, Laos, Cambodia, and Chinese critters. And so right now, they're working on building a road called the Road of Burma. Go figure. But you can see, I mean, look at how densely webbed the rest of this region is, and then you get to Myanmar slash Burma. I mean, even in India, like these are interstates, and then you get to Burma, and it's just wide open jungle. The rivers haven't even been dammed for the most part. There is the Irrawaddy River as their main river, but I mean, it's just beautiful, lush jungle. And let's see here. Mandalay is another big capital. Rangoon or Yangon, if you prefer the local spelling of it. But there's also these lakes that have all sorts of danios. We honestly don't know the species that exist in these lakes yet. People are still doing work to identify them, and there are likely another. I mean, however many species we've discovered now since it opened back up after 50 to 60 years of being shut off to the Western world. I mean, it was shut off to everyone. It was shut off to the Chinese. It was shut off to the Western world. But again, yet again, here we've got a huge lake that is just full of really interesting and incredible creatures. This is one of the only dams in the whole country here, but this whole area has backed up now, and it has become fish habitat. So in any case, I just wanted to kind of show you guys the background a little bit on Myanmar. I'm not going to get into all the details, but needless to say, they have had they produce uh, a majority of the world's amphetamines right in this area, and that goes into China and then distributed from China, and also goes into India and then gets distributed from India. It also goes into Thailand and gets distributed across the world and to Australia and things from Thailand. So there's been a huge rebel faction there from a bunch of different sides, both communist, fascist, democracy, pro-democracy, pro-military. I mean, you name it. There's these groups in this jungle, this rainforest area, and they also grow more poppies until America came into Afghanistan and kind of reshuffled the deck for the country. This was where most of the poppies and all the things you refine from them come from. This was known as the Golden Triangle. Shan State is a triangle, and it's kind of its own autonomous region, really. To go there even today, you often need to get passes from elders. So the people who went to collect these fish are very brave, and it surprises me that they're still able to have um, a pipeline of trade coming out. But this is the key border crossing for all of those fish. And if we that come from like inlay and things like that, and they go into Vietnam, they go into Laos here, and then they go into Thailand down here. Now, Thailand, and then after Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia, those are your biggest fish exporters in the world, easily. The Czech Republic also, but that's all line bred type stuff rather than wild caught and then resale slash wholesale. Um, and Singapore is a little teeny city state here. But the unease going on in the region is going to be very bad. So what I wanted to show you guys, that lake, Lake Inle is a beautiful lake. It's really cool. There's this new paper. I mean, it's not super new. It's 2016, but it has they did the background DNA testing in the water and looked for bits and pieces of scales from one fish or enzymes from another, and they're able then with certain cells, just skin cells and slime coat cells of these fish, they're able then to identify what's in the entire lake based on that small sample of DNA, which I think is fascinating. That's that background DNA that we talked about during fish news. But we don't know what we don't know about this region. That's how big it is, and that's, I mean, how much we're missing. If we look at the fish, cyprinodoniforms and cypriniforms, those are really that's like danios and a lot of little minnows and little I guess just kind of the little fish in our nano trade for the most part. A lot of white cloud minnows, I think, are in that category. CPDs. The glow light Danio is also from Lake Inle, which is probably the most colorful Danio. The Hikari Danio is another one. The blue Axelrodi Sunda Danio, which is, you guys know that one, I'm sure. It's another beautiful fish. But if we take a look here real quick, I wanted to give credit where credit's due. This is from a channel called Discovery Planet, and they uploaded a short. Let's get rid of the glare here. I don't know why it's so stinking bad, but let's get rid of it. Finish him. Um, but yeah, so I'm just gonna show a little clip of this. But this is Lake Inle, and the whole lake has this farming on it where they've built these reed and mud mats, and they float. And then in between them, the fish come and eat, and they clean and they poop, and it's basically hydroponic farming. So this guy, this is just some footage from a few years back. Just stuck his camera in, and you can see the little blue sun-dead danios, the green neon danios, and blue neon danios, or sorry, rasboras as they're known. um, and then also we've got the CPDs, you've got the Sabwa splendens or the rummy nose tetras, you've got a whole bunch of gouramis, but it's really the Danio chopra, the glow light Danio, and the CPDs that are like they don't occur anywhere else. But I mean, look at some of these plants; they're just very very unique and interesting. There's Pogostem and Stellatus octopus. Here's a bunch of barbs here. Um, 8-banded barbs just went by. There's a lotus, and there's a lot of bigger fish too that people survive off of in here. But these lakes have just an incredible wealth in Myanmar. These lakes have an incredible wealth of plant diversity. And you can see there's algae and mulm all over everything, but that's the way the fish like it. So this is like 6 inches to 3 feet of water. Right here is probably not even a foot of water. And you can just see, what a great little habitat that is to protect the small fish. And then the bigger fish are out in the lake too. And there's all sorts of big fish we may not know too, but for the hobby's sake, I'm going to say under 3 or 4 inches. From what I've read, they assume that we have not even begun to sort out what's what. It's in that we only caught Celestial Pearl Danios and Rummy Nose Tetras, or Rummy Nose Rasboras, rather, and a lot of these new micro Rasboras, like the Phoenix Rasbora and all that kind of stuff. We only caught those very, very recently and classified them. Some of them, for like CPDs, didn't have a Latin name for a good chunk of time. So the internet and the hobby keeps things going. Here we've got some Eriocallan, and we've got just these cool little tufts. I'd love to know what that is and what the structure of the substrate is that it grows like that. But this guy's just free diving around, looking around with like a little GoPro or something like that. But yeah, so that's just kind of a look at the habitat in video form. But beyond that, what I wanted to show you guys was a couple resources. And one, this, I can always post this link for channel members too. Trying to give incentive for the channel members. But this has all the species diversity that they were able to detect in the lake and the main river system. And it's hundreds of species altogether. With fish, there's probably at least 100 named. And all since 2006. Now, there's also all these walking catfish and chana or snakeheads, things like that we can't have in the U.S. too. But there's other cool things like the climbing gourami or the samurai gourami or the spiny eel or the freshwater moire eel, which is really interesting. Let's see here. I think Aquatic Arts actually had some of those. Let's hop over there real quick and just see if they've got them. I feel like they had them on sale or something. Oh, yeah, Leopard Moire Eel. Here we go. We can't have walking catfish in the U.S. because they walk from one pond to another, and they can walk for up to 48 hours out of water, breathing with lungs. and so they're deemed an invasive species threat. And sort of the same with the what do you call them? Snakeheads and chaunas. So yeah. Um, but yeah, these guys are pretty cool looking. There's also, the tire track eel and things like that. But this is a pretty wicked looking freshwater fish. Where does it say this one? Native to northern Australia. Um, they'll go into fresh water, but they do like brackish water generally. Um, but there's all sorts of little eels and things in Myanmar that have not been listed yet. But I think we can find here a few of the favorites that you guys will definitely know. I mean, for one, these are all over that whole region in general, the giant danios, um, hill stream loaches, all that. And I don't know the answer to any of this, but there's a great documentary called The Burma Road that I watched the other night, and it was talking about how the reason they don't have infrastructure out there is, yes, it's mountainous, yes, it's swampy, it's a jungle, it's hard to build and plan and do all that, but it's just kind of the way things are situated out there without any major highways or trade that allows them to capitalize on their microcultures and tourism, and they kind of skipped all the parts of the 20th century where you're burning coal or you're burning oil and natural gas, so they do less of that than a lot of developing countries because they have the ability to kind of be on their own and just do their own thing. But yeah, so there's just a lot of cool fish there. I'm just trying to find some of them. There's also lots of killifish there. Plenty of big catfish as well. And then lots of little rasboras for sure. Which great fish for a small to medium tank. But yeah, all right, enough of that. So I found this other website that, like I said, has a list of all the species on that lake, and that's just Lake Inle. And so Lake Inle is where the rebels, I mean, there's been tourists visiting that area, and that we kind of thought that would turn things around, but now it sounds like everything is going to be a little tense for a while. There's warnings up against traveling there. Not to mention the whole area has been devastated economically by the illness too. They catch the let's see here. Let's pull this up. The Sabwa splendens. Sabwa means like leader, ruler, or king in the local dialect originally, if I recall. But let's show you guys some pictures just in case you aren't sure what I'm talking about. Let's see if that pops it up. Probably not gonna. Sabwa. Okay, I guess we'll do rummy nose rasbora. Rasbora. So I've got some of these downstairs too, but they're a little shy. But they're a very cool fish, very pretty fish, kind of a blue, silver, gunmetal gray type thing going on there. And so those are great. There's also untold numbers of shrimp going on in that region that we haven't even begun to check out yet. But between those and then you've got the Chopra Danio or the Glow Light Danio, glow, and not that's not like we also have the glow light resbora too, which is the sometimes called lamb chop as well, but glow light danyo, not to be confused with glow danios lee. But yeah, so these guys, you've seen them in my tanks. I've got them downstairs, but they come in a wide array of colors. When the sun hits them, they're like a little rainbow. So they're a great little fish. And on this lake, there's a whole lot of great little fish. There's also things like kythit danios, gold ring danios, or tin winnies, and stuff like that that's not just specific to that lake, but that exists all over the region. But these lakes really do hold an amazing amount of biodiversity that doesn't occur anywhere else. And so that's what would be so sad if it got deforested or turned into a road or turned into farmland or whatever. It's already slowly being turned into farmland, unfortunately. But these little fish seem to do okay with it being farmland. It's the bigger fish that don't do as well. So, yeah, there's that. So that kind of gives you an idea. There's lots of other Danios too, like the fire stripe and the sculpie and stuff like that. But yeah, let's see here. Secret history living in your aquarium. Her name was Josephine White. Dr. Albert Klee, a great hobby historian, has comments about her. Awesome. I love Dr. Albert Klee. Let's see here. Is this? Yeah, right there. This book right here is one that I have by Dr. Albert Klee. Thank you so much, Alishon. That is very helpful. She was a charter member of the American Killifish Association. Put her name in the page's search engine. Dr. Klee would be a great resource if I can get in touch. Yeah, Dr. Klee, amazing material. This book is going for $150, and it's only been out of print for like 10 years. But it's a great book. Love that book. It happens to just be one of the only books sitting here not packed up yet, because I still read it so frequently. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to show you guys on this live stream was this handy dandy Shandy. I crack myself up some days. Little feature, which is the Biotope Aquarium website, and it's pretty cool. So it's got submissions and awards and past things, past submissions. I don't know. I guess we could play the video, but it's got all these pictures up close of what people have done, and then it's got descriptions of how they built the biotope, so how they made their tank to look so natural. So they literally, this is for people who are all about getting the right color substrate, the right water parameters, the right plants, the right crustaceans. Some people go as far as asking for, bottles of water so that they have the right microflora and fauna, which is, that's so cool. I wish if I had lots of money, that would be one of my first inventions in the fish hobby, would be to have samples of mulm and soil from all over the world, from the major collection points, and I would just breed that in water that it needs to live, or however it needs to be worked out, and then put it into a bottle like the nitrite and nitrate beneficial bacteria's work. But this website, just phenomenal in that, again, you see the video, those same kind of cool plants there, and it's got information then about all these species and links to their other stuff, which is great. So yeah, just that's a resource if you're looking up what lives in an area. A lot of times people have submitted it there. And this was the article about the fish that are yet to be discovered in Myanmar versus what we've already discovered. So I filled you guys in on that. The next big threat going on is basically on the Zengu River. That's where we get the zebra plecos. Everybody knows the zebra plecos, the L333s also, and the leopard frog pleco also. They're all very closely related. As Peclotias, I believe. I think they're all Peclotias. Sorry, guys. Gimbal just rotated on me. So yeah. What was I gonna show you? Oh, right. Freshwater fish. And let's go with catfish. So these guys, they live in the Zengu River of southern central Brazil, as well as we've got this one, the Belo Monte Pleco. This one will be going extinct. Luckily, it's easy to spawn in captivity, so we should still have it. Then there's this Belo Monte Hypencistris, so that's bigger with the higher fin, but also from that same area. Let's see here. Oh, and there's the leopard frog pleco. Oh, they're sold out right now. I mean, such a good price. Usually they're $100 other places. They're 62 here. So I mean, good deal. But did they ever have any zebra plecos? I doubt it. But yeah, so plecos are there. Lots of cories are there. Tons of tetras. Lots of big food fish, and there's already one dam on the river, Xingu, that's pretty significant right now. They've been planning this whole power plant project since 1974, and right now it just came out 3 or 4 days ago online. If you go to Amazon, well, let me show you real quick. If we go to, is it in here? I think I got the links all on here. Yeah, so if you go to AmazonWatch.org, then it gives you news on what's going on in different spots of the Amazon. And it also lets you know what you can do if they need money for, printing flyers or to send some delegates to somewhere, or if you want to volunteer to catalog data or make phone calls to raise money, things like that. This is kind of a cool resource, and it's also a charity that's tax deductible, which is nice if you're a richie rich and you got the money, and the tax money being saved is like, all right, I'll do it because I got to pay that money to someone. The other one is international rivers, and then there's reef to rainforest. There's all these different really great resources, but this one is specifically about indigenous North and South American people and fishing and fish keeping of the stuff that we keep, basically. But the dam in the last few years, the Belo Monte Dam at this bend in the river, has caused all the silt to start piling up and getting deposited. And one, nothing spawning that usually spawns there, and two, then there is how'd that happen? Sorry about that, guys. There are plans to build even more stuff. There's a gold mine going in from a Canadian company So if you guys live in the US or Canada or Europe, um, there are links that I can put in the community tab, hopefully later tonight or tomorrow morning, about getting involved with these projects. And, everything from helping with the websites and doing press work for these things to going down and filming if you're there. Whatever it may be, it's helpful. So, uh, pretty interesting and pretty cool resources there. Let's see here. And the Zengu River, it appeared for a while as though they weren't going to dam it. It said that the indigenous people had kind of won, and for a time they weren't going to add the next stage, but now they are, and they're not even going to build a fish ladder. And they know that the fish that the local folks consider the best to eat fish, I can't remember the species off the top of my head. It hasn't spawned there. I don't know why I keep hitting that accidentally. It hasn't spawned there in 2 years now. And so they're worrying. I mean, when an entire population kind of moves somewhere to spawn, you're kind of in in trouble on like, so like, look at here. Um, when they do these strip mining things and stuff, this should all be flooded in water this high this time of year, and instead now they've drained it down. There's no fish breeding, and when they are, they're in these muddy ditches and things. But they're also not getting the river flow, which causes baffles or ripples on the sand under the water, as well as rocks and other things that build nice structure for fish to swim in and out of and do their thing. Um, so there's that. But the overall trouble seems like it's gonna be there. Like we're not gonna be able to get those fish for a while. We know pea puffers are an issue to get hold of right now. And also, Indonesia has stepped up and become the biggest fish farmer this year by far. Vietnam's sneaking up too, and then Malaysia is the number two. So that outdid Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, that traditionally have kind of took the one, two, three roles. The Czech Republic's like number six now. Israel's coming up for raising goldfish and koi. So there's all sorts of stuff going on right now in the world that's changing things up. But hopefully somebody will step up. Any of those species I mentioned, of course, the zebra plecos and the leopard frog plecos, those are going to be worth money if you want to breed them. But they have been. But now that recently, let me step back. Recently, Project Piaba, which has been putting local indigenous people in the Amazon in contact with wholesale suppliers and fisheries experts from the outside world, outside of the immediate region, and helping them manage their resources so that they know how many they can harvest without hurting it. And it turns out with cardinal tetras, neon tetras, you can harvest as many as you want essentially, because they're a fish that has hundreds or thousands of babies every year as eggs, and they get washed out. They get trapped in puddles during the dry season after the rainy season's equaled out. And most of them just die and become bird food. And the ones that do survive in a puddle for that few months then swim their way out and do their thing. But when the puddles get low, the natives come in and they collect and then they sell them. And so it's kind of like fair trade, well sourced, sustainably sourced fish. The problem being is that IBAMA, which also looks after native indigenous people's rights in Brazil, kind of like the Bureau of Indian Affairs is in the United States for indigenous tribes here. Um, They said, okay, well, you guys can export again. You guys can export the leopard frog pleco from the wild. You guys can export the zebra pleco from the wild just this June or July. And all of a sudden now, um, this dam's going forward, and then there's just not going to be a supply of any of these fish in the wild. I don't know why. I am so washed out. It's very annoying. Um, Sorry, guys. But any of those fish that are on the Xingu, which is spelled with an X, Xingu River, I'd look into them if you guys are trying to make some money in the coming years. I mean, what we have in the country is what we have, and hopefully people breed more of them, and we can kind of bring them back and maybe reintroduce them to another river. But right now, there's the dam, the Belo Monte hydroelectric dam, which is a big thing, and then also the Belo Monte gold mine, which basically they want to take all this Canadian company wants to take all the slag piles and tailings, so all the junk that comes up from gold mining when you strip mine and pit mine. They want to take all that and the silt that's building up behind the dam because the river's not able to go downstream. It's all getting stuck, pushed against the dam, and they want to mine that. Well, that doesn't sound like that bad of an idea because it keeps the river going. But the problem is that the permitting and the oversight is so bad there on the Zengu River and also in the Amazon in general and Brazil in general that the water retention ponds or lakes, I mean, some of them are miles long for these big industrial copper mines and things in Peru, owned by the same company. They will dig these ginormous pits and then process the earth, sift it for sand, down to sand and particles of things like I don't know, rubies or garnets. Emeralds are a big one down there, but predominantly what they're looking for is gold and silver. And then they run it through water, and then to get the trace tiny amounts of gold to stick together, what they do is they use mercury, liquid mercury that like in a thermometer that rolls around in your hand that is very toxic, and they then put that in the gold pan hand by hand, and the foreman on the job will literally have a big old jar of it, and he'll pour it out into each worker's flat pan while they're working on it, and they've got the big shaker machine and everything, but now they're just throwing that back in the water and rinsing that water, and it's just going downstream, and the mercury levels in the fish are astronomically high. They've only done 2 tests, and in that same paper they talk about that. And that just came out in January 25th, I think, is when that came out. So between the Zengu River, which is off and on, I mean, we haven't been getting a lot of wild fish from them, but some of our favorite fish have come from there. The other major river that is in trouble right now is the parts of the Congo in the Central African Republic, because there is a full-on war going on. Two factions have teamed up, and the Central African Republic, but right above the Congo, is a it's a republic democracy like we are supposedly, but it's really a dictatorship and has had fixed elections and things like that for a long time with fascist leaders for the most part. And the rebels in the north happen to be Christian zealots, and then in the east they happen to be Islamic zealots, and then in the west they're animists, so they believe everything has a spirit, and the water has a spirit, the birds have a spirit, there's a god for this, a god for that, or basically pluralist in that sense. They're polytheistic, I guess you'd say. But all these groups with different ideas kind of converge into that area. And traditionally, the river is what was the peacemaker. The river they both used it. It's miles wide, the Congo, as well as some other tributaries there. And it was traditionally that, those people stayed on one side and the others stayed on the other. Now it is just becoming a mess. They built bridges and all that. And I'm not, you can't knock them for developing the bridges and things, but it is interesting that with that development, they have opened up the ability of these people to communicate with cell phones and things like that. These people in these countries, a lot of them, they never even had landline phones. They never had the big clunky computers. So they've skipped straight to smartphones, didn't have to build any of the infrastructure or waste time building telephone poles, telegraph poles, then burying them underground, doing fiber optic, whatever it is. I mean, they're able to skip ahead to this 21st century, which is great for them now. They've been behind for so long, and they're still very impoverished in a lot of these countries. But the bottom line is it's making trade very difficult. And then the war crimes and things that have gone on, last month alone, 200,000 people were displaced in one province of the Central African Republic alone. Um, Alex, I've got an orange laser corridor fry that is partially hatched. His tail is out, but he can't get the rest of the way out of his shell. Yeah, I have a couple ways you can deal with that. Let's see here. So, my favorite way to deal with that, and it happens with rainbow fish, pseudomagills a lot, is you get one of the API test tubes, or something that seals that's small like that. You put the egg in there and you keep the lid off, but just slightly, so that the water. Here, I'll try to like demonstrate. So you'd submerge it slowly, and then let it fill with water, and then you'd put your arm as far down as you can, all the way like 2 feet, the deepest tank you have, whatever the deepest tank you have is. As long as you got a tank more than about 12 inches, that will like triple, quadruple, I don't know exactly how much, but it will increase the pressure on that egg. And oftentimes, a lot of those eggs, with Cory eggs, they're either buried in the sand or they're on a rock or slate, like on a surface. And if they have trouble hatching, the little wrigglers, they fall down deeper into the river, and they either get tossed and turned in the water, and that helps them break open, or the pressure of being down lower helps. So what you do is then you put the lid on at the bottom of the tank. So the pressure is now stuck in that little vial, and you've got your egg or eggs in the vial that just don't seem to be hatching, but you can see the little fish squirming around in there, and they're just trying to get out. That happens sometimes. Now, Gary Lang, the rainbow fish expert, him and I believe it was Heiko Blair, or Blair, I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Let's go with Blair. Found that him once a week was enough that actually can toughen up the outside of eggs when they're young. Or sorry, not once a week, but I mean in a week of eggs. So that is to say, when you're constantly doing water changes on fry, a lot of people will use fresh water. Don't do that. Use tank water and change the tray with tank water, and then that way you don't have to add more of the prime or safe or whatever it is that you're adding. So that's one thing. Now the other thing is, in the vial, you can just put eggs in a vial with water and stick it in your pocket and walk around for a couple hours, and the warmth of your body plus the shaking motion of your legs, that will sometimes help. The other thing that can happen though is sometimes their yolk sac is fused. If you look at my most recent microscope thing, the different stages of fry development, you can actually see how the membrane looks like. It looks like a big sticky geodesic dome or ball with these little hairs on it that stick out in every direction. It's pretty cool up close, but then you can kind of get a better idea for how the fish is laid out, because its spine is going to be on the outside layer of one of the sides of the eggs, and if that gets pulled away, you don't want that to rip and paralyze it. So those are a couple ways that I think definitely would help. But it will stress the fry probably, but those are methods that are tried and true. So I'd say cut back on water conditioner, because what water conditioner does is it surrounds the molecule itself. So pretend this gourami is ammonia. It would surround that gourami with a bunch of molecules of sulfur and a sulfur ring, or an organic ring, and then that just floats around. And when the nitrifying bacteria is ready to eat it, it still can tell that the gourami is a piece of ammonia, but then it releases that sulfur. Well, what happens is that sulfur can also bond with the membrane of egg yolks on certain fish, if they have an open slot for the electron, I guess, or for the ion to bond. And that can happen if you're not using it strictly to get rid of the chlorine. If there's still active ingredient of it left, you can run into problems. So remember that a little cap of even prime, which is not as concentrated as safe at all, but even a cap of prime is for 50 gallons easily, to dechlorinate water. So you want to be using on a small tank. If you're just throwing a cap in each time on a 20 gallon, that you're doing way overkill. And in fact, you may be doing a disservice to some of the other bacteria and elements in your tank, because, for instance, plants do like to eat ammonia straight more than they like nitrites or nitrates, even though the fish don't. But there might be such a low threshold of those things that it works out well just having the fish do it. So I don't know. I hope that helps. And today I think we're going to kind of keep it a little short. I definitely will be looking into more things going on. Dragon Lair, what's going on? Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. I've just got, it's just been a busy week getting ready to move and everything, and I'm tired. I'm trying not to get run down health wise, and I still need to get all my teeth pulled, but I'm waiting to get my immunizations probably in March, because of my lupus and my other issues. But they got me on steroids, and then they got me on hormones. So between the two, like, I've just been like bloating up, getting all fat and gross, and just I just feel sweaty, and it's just not the best situation that there could be. But we're trucking along. Life is good. Just trying to stay healthy enough to be able to do this move next week. And then, so yeah, I just wanted those 3 locations to be in your mind. Any fish from those locations that you can look up, feel free. I'll post some of the links in the community tab for members. So if you're a member, even at just $1.99 a month, that's something that I like to share with you guys, so that you guys can go to the Biotope tank. And if you're wondering what lives on the Orinoco River, or the Negro River, or the Congo River, or for that matter, the Mississippi River, and you're putting together a tank and you want to know, okay, well, what did other people do that are plants that are native to there? Well, it's got lists of all that, and it's got examples of tanks that have won in the past, and sometimes you can find pictures, but you can always do a Google image search. So, still not paying me, but maybe someday. Well, thank you, Misfits Reptiles. Really appreciate the super chat. And the questions I appreciate. The lurkers I appreciate. You guys stuck with me on this one. And I know sometimes these human rights issues, the secret history associated with our hobby, with life in general, is a bit, how do you say, some people find it boring. I find it fascinating that all this ties back to the price of fish. That's why it's $8.99 right now for CPDs. Plus the shipping has just gone up, and the import stamp tax has gone up from certain places. Things like that will contribute to it. But there's other fish that don't even go up for years and years and years, like neon tetras haven't gone up much in price. Yet, even though most of those are wild caught now, or are still wild caught now. So keep an eye out on your favorite fish. Figure out where your fish are from, and then advocate for those places. Get to know your favorite 3 or 4 fish, and then advocate, be an environmentalist, whether you're a hunter, a fisherman, whether you just like taking photos, whether you're never going to go there ever, or if you keep something from there. It's that personal touch, that definitely, mm, drives people most effectively, I would say. Somebody says, those were in Lake Inle, in the Shan province. So it's been in war for a long time. But the military, in conjunction with Aung San Suu, uh, she was able to keep basically the rebels at peace. Literally last month, they busted, I think it was like $10 billion a month of amphetamines from a Chinese cartel, like funded cartel, that was funding these guerrilla fighters in the Myanmar woods, that I think they were communists, but it doesn't really matter what they are. I mean, like, the ideology is beside the point to most of the time. It's just whatever they think will be influence in the area, and they're trying to build that road. So they want people that are in power, so that when Chinese companies get contracts to build that road, that they'll be able to go through, because that road will connect China and India. And Myanmar is hoping to actually tax all the cargo coming through there, and kind of have a toll bridge for the shortcut, because right now they have to take a tanker ship to do that. And yes, it's a very, the CIA has been involved in that region a lot. I mean, during the Vietnam War, when they were bringing back all the dope and stuff, in coffins of U.S. soldiers, it was coming from that Thailand border region in Myanmar and Laos and Cambodia. It was coming from these areas in the Shan Golden Triangle, basically. Right now, the Shan region has shrunk a little bit, because it's mostly out of control just within the country, but it used to be considered about twice as big, and it included a lot more countries. But now those countries have more security. I mean, they have drones and planes, and cell phones, satellite phones, and they're able to communicate and connect with the people in those remote regions, whereas before they couldn't. So between that, yeah, I mean, look for the rummy nose rasboras, the glow light danios. Those are being bred in captivity well. But the rummy nose rasboras, the erythromicrons, or the emerald dwarf rasboras, the neon, the sundadanio, the little neon blue rasboras, the neon red rasboras, the neon green rasboras, all those little axelrod eyes and stuff. You should do a history on smuggling fish. Yes, I have a video on that. I actually do have a video on the history of smuggling fish. It's not on all smuggling fish, but it's talking about how places like, where they've made it illegal to collect fish in Brazil, those people will take a boat 500 miles through tributaries up into Colombia and say, "Oh wow, look, the leopard frog pleco exists here. Weird," and sell it. Or in Peru, and unscrupulous dealers will allow that to happen, and it's actually led to a lot of false data on where fish are, because people will learn from their importer, oh, that fish came from here or here, but until they really know their importer, it turned out that no, it was just brought in, and they just wrote that down on the form so that it would be legal, because you can't fish in those areas. So there's a lot of fascinating stuff about that, but you can check out that. You can also check out my other video that's called World or 2020 Politics and what is it called? Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but it's something along the lines of world conflicts affecting the fish hobby in 2020. And so I did that wrap up last year, and it's held pretty true. These three that we talked about today are the new info in that whole chain of things. On top of that, there's also the schmovid going on, and that has just made another whole headache of things. But hopefully, more people are breeding them in captivity, and we can overcome this and even reintroduce them to areas that have been dammed and things. But it might be better if we could avoid damming them altogether and encourage, a sustainable energy or a tourist industry, which is their biggest income right now already. It's just right now that's shut down. So maybe if we can get donations to them for a while, maybe that helps hold things off a little while. They're living on $1.78 US a day, the average person in the Shan region, or northern Myanmar, which is just incredible. That's the poverty level. If you can survive on $1.70 a day or less, then you're globally poor. But if you make $2 a day, then you're not. You're above the poverty line, which is insane if you think about it. But those are the people that you see why being a gold miner or cattle rancher or whatever could be very appealing when you can make money, quite a bit of money. The mercury that they're using they also use sulfuric acid, they use cyanide. All these things are going on. Let's see. I heard Sunda Danios are super hard to breed and are often die for no reason. It's not that they die for no reason. They just are a very small fish. They are easy to starve to death in that, most fish can go weeks or at least a week without much food. These guys need a lot of food quickly, and if they're not eating or thriving off the food you give them, they'll die. If they get a parasite, they'll die, because a parasite the size of an eyelash, is like a squid in your stomach to that small of a fish. So some of those issues are probably why they're hard to keep. Same with the rummy nose rasboras too. But we're getting better at it, and if you get them from a good source, then you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. And yes, they are getting hard to find, and they are getting them. They are getting them from the wild rather than spawning them. From all that I've read, there may be a few exceptions to that, but they're going to do what's economically most expedient and easy for them. So that's what they did. So yeah, just keep an eye on those things. There's other puffers too, like the Mabu puffer, and that are gonna have issues. We've been having issues with those things. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. I just thought I'd catch the last of the sun out here with you guys real quick. Still got some snow on the ground and all that, but thank you again, everybody. I appreciate it. Mods, I appreciate you. I'll try to stay on schedule. I know I missed a day last week. Actually, I just screwed up the whole schedule last week. But hopefully, I'll be streaming again on this coming Saturday. And any questions you have, any ideas you have, totally excited to hear about. And I'll see you guys in the comments. Take care of your critters, your plants, your tanks, and the people around you, because if you don't do that, who will? And then take care of yourself, because you can't do the other things without that. So between all that, we should all be taking care of each other, and the world will be a better place. So I will talk to you guys later. Thanks again, as always, for the support, the love, the positive comments. You guys going back and watching old videos. There's 600 videos now, so have a blast. Pick a subject. There are a lot out there that I've done a lot of research on in the videos, and maybe they just didn't get many views. But think of something you're interested in, or a question you have, and see if it's there. And if it's not, drop me a comment, and I'm happy to make those videos for you guys. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I will talk to you later. This eye is starting to swell again. I've been having some issues, and so I need to go ice it again. But I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day, night, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are, and take care. Bye.